visions of this whimsical forest blanket fort tea party in my daydreams for many, many years. And if you have the opportunity, I'm telling you right now, it is so fun to bring your imagination to life and turn your daydreams into reality. And that, my friend, is what we'll be doing today. Now that you're here, you can come along and help me prepare for this whimsical forest tea party. We'll be making fun recipes, building a blanket fort, and adding a whimsical decorating touch to literally everything. And there may or may not be some bubbles and silly dancing involved. You've been warned. And then to end the day, we'll watch the sunset, light some candles, and enjoy the peaceful evening air. And I'll even share with you a little journal entry that I wrote all about it. Blanket forts, dancing, delightful treats, bubbles, we have a lot to do. My name is Bethany. Welcome to Joyful Habits. This is gonna be so much fun. I chose this lovely little wooded area to set up our tea party. I thought it would be nice to be in the shade while still having a little bit of that sunshine trickling through the trees. The weather was so perfect. Not too hot, not too cold, sunny, blue skies, puffy white clouds, and an almost constant gentle summer breeze. I first started by mapping out where we would want our blanket fort to be, and then I wrapped twine around all the trees until it made a circle. My plan was to basically create a giant clothesline and then just start hanging blankets everywhere. I went through my closets and bins and trunks and gathered a bunch of extra quilts, blankets, bed sheets, tablecloths, and just about anything I could find. I don't really know how or why this began, but I've always collected blankets and tablecloths. Even as a kid, I was just sort of drawn to them. And almost every single one of these blankets that you see today in the video, I found at a consignment shop. After deciding where our entrance would be, I chose these two matching bed sheets that I had, and I thought I would hang them on either side to make a cute little entrance into our blanket fort. You'll see that one is a fitted sheet and one is a flat sheet, so we had to play around a little bit until we liked how it looked. I thought about maybe layering a lace curtain over the sheets, but then it fell apart and I decided to save the lace curtains for something else. We were having a lot of fun putting this all together and trying to figure out how best to set it up. We kept laughing and saying to each other that we felt like kids on summer vacation building a blanket fort. You'll notice that lovely gentle summer breeze I mentioned earlier was creating a bit of a challenge when it came to hanging the blankets. And it seemed like the wind would die down, and then as soon as we started to hang something, it would start back up again. We had a lot of good laughs over this, and we realized that with all this blippity blopping wind, we would need to call in some reinforcements. Say hello to good old clothespins. Luckily, we had a huge bag of these sitting in a drawer, just waiting for a time like this. I'm noticing a random burnt hole in this bedsheet, and I don't remember how that got there. It might have honestly been there when I bought it. I bought this fitted sheet and flat sheet from a thrift store back when I was 13 years old. I'm not even going to tell you how many years ago that was now. Suffice it to say, it was a while ago. My best friend was visiting, and I had some babysitting money, so we decided to walk to the thrift store to see what we could find. This shop had things for 25 and 50 cents and $1, so with $20 in hand, we felt extremely wealthy. I remember when I bought these blankets, I had this exact idea in mind to create a sort of blanket fort tea party outside. And if not that, I knew they would come in handy for just blanket forts in general. Which I guess really shows the mindset of 13-year-old me that this would be the first thing that popped into my head when I saw a box full of random bed sheets in a thrift store. Of course, I had no idea at the time that I would be featuring these thrift store purchases in a YouTube video, and that this idea that's lived in my imagination and daydreams for years would at some point come to life and be showcased on the internet for all the world to see. Well, not all the world, my channel isn't that popular. But you get the idea. It's just funny to think if I could go back in time and tell little 13-year-old me to hold on to that imagination and those ideas, because someday you'll get the chance to put them to good use. And this is not the first time they've shown up on my channel. If you saw my orange candle making video, you might recognize I was using them as a tablecloth. So anyway, we hung the sheets with those clothespins, and then we had a couple ideas for anchoring the bottom so they wouldn't blow around. For this particular one, I just bunched up the corner, tied some twine around it, and then looped that twine around the tree and tied it securely. Luckily, we had the forethought that it might be a good idea to move all the furniture in before we set up the rest of the blanket walls. So we started to carry in all the tables and chairs, and we're having a bit of fun in the process, singing songs and just being silly. Then we continued setting up our blanket fort, and unfortunately the next problem we ran into was that once we hung some heavier blankets, it obviously weighed down the twine a lot more. So in hindsight, I wish I had hung the twine a little higher. I did hang it as high as I could, but I guess next time I'll need to grab a chair or a ladder or a taller person. I don't know why I was struggling so much with this one blanket. I don't know if you can tell, but it is quite heavy, and it just kept falling all over the place. I really love the sage green of this blanket. It's so pretty, and I found this and the matching blue one at a consignment shop for $15. I also really love this quilt. The sage and cream and white colors are just so lovely and remind me of summer. I really just love quilts in general, and I'm always looking for more. I've made one quilt on my own, and I'm currently working on a second one that's going to be autumn themed. Let me know in the comments if we have any fellow quilters here, or even just fellow quilt lovers. I think there's just something so wholesomely cozy and homey about a quilt. It was a little tricky at times, but I was trying very hard to keep everyone else out of the camera and respect their privacy. My friend is so funny. She joked that I don't have to worry about cutting her out of the shot because she's so short she can just stay behind the blanket and no one will see her. So we had a good laugh about that. We continued to hang the various blankets and sheets with clothespins and then pin the bottoms down, as well as pinning them together. I thought it would be fun to twirl, but apparently I couldn't handle that because I made myself extremely dizzy. gosh, I found this yellow tablecloth at a consignment shop for $5, and it has beautiful embroidery on it. I was in love as soon as I saw it. I also really love that pink and sage green quilt. I don't know why I'm bothering to point out individual things that I love when I literally love every piece. I'm just describing every piece one by one like it's unique. Like, oh, I love this one, and then I love this one, and then I love that one. I just love them all. As our blanket fort started to take shape, it's really hard to describe just how magical it felt. The way the warm summer breeze fluttered the leaves, which then made the sun dance like a kaleidoscope. The blankets were waving softly, and it just felt like a magical little hideaway that we'd created in the forest. Once we had all the blankets up, I started to layer some of the lace curtains and other small pieces on top of some of the plain colored blankets. I really wanted to go for a sort of messy, mismatched, whimsical, childish kind of blanket fort look, if that makes sense. Speaking of adding whimsy, I had a bunch of these butterflies that are made of feathers and attached to a very thin piece of wire. I thought it would be so magical to place a bunch of these around to look like butterflies were fluttering about. And funny enough, we actually attracted quite a few real butterflies. Some of them kept landing on the blankets with flowers on them. I'm not sure if they were attracted to the color or if they thought they were real flowers. And then there were even a few butterflies fluttering about our fake butterflies. I thought it was very nice for the real butterflies to join us, and again, just added to that very magical feel. I hung this little portable speaker from a tree branch, and then we put on some music by Hagrid Hardy, the man who composed the soundtrack for the Anne of Green Gables 1985 miniseries. I can't play it here for copyright reasons, but definitely look up some of his music if you have the chance. One of my favorites is Hardy's theme from Anne of Green Gables. It's such a beautiful song, so definitely give the music a listen to if you want to, and if you haven't seen the series, definitely take time to sit down and watch the films. They are such beautiful adaptations of the books. So our first menu item are these cute little tea sandwiches. I'm keeping it simple with just some hummus sandwiches today. I was planning on also doing a butter cucumber sandwich, but I forgot to add cucumber to the grocery list, and now I just don't feel like going back out. Luckily, I know my guests really enjoy my homemade hummus, so I'm sure they'll enjoy the homemade hummus on some white bread, because who doesn't like white bread? However, since I'm no longer making my cucumber sandwiches, I wanted to spice things up at least a little. So I had the idea to color some of the hummus different colors, but I didn't want to use regular food coloring because one, I didn't have any on hand, and as we already discussed, I didn't feel like going back out to the store. If I was willing to give up the cucumber sandwiches, you bet I'll find a way not to have to go to the store for food coloring. And two, I just don't really like using food coloring because it's not really that great for us. So I went to my pantry and looked around, and I grabbed some beet powder and decided to mix a little in with the hummus and see what happens. I knew adding just a little bit wouldn't change the flavor. I was just hoping the color would blend nicely. And as you can see, it did. Back to my pantry to look for something green. I decided to try a little bit of matcha powder, and again was very happy to see that it blended nicely and did not alter the flavor. So if you're looking for a healthy and natural way to color your hummus, look no further than matcha and beetroot powder. And in hindsight, I realize it might have been easier to make the whole sandwich and then cut it after I put the hummus on. Luckily, it wasn't that difficult, just slightly more time consuming. Next item on our menu are ice cubes, but we're not making regular ice cubes. These are going to be special ice cubes. I knew I wanted to make chamomile and lavender tea ice cubes. So what you do is you steep your lavender or your chamomile tea, and then instead of filling the ice cube tray with water, you fill it with the tea. Now you might notice that I'm pouring regular water into the ice cube mold instead of tea. At this point, it was 11 o'clock at night, and needless to say, I was very tired and I forgot. So if you make these, don't forget like I did, because I think steeping the chamomile and lavender tea would be so much nicer, because not only would it impart more flavor, but it would also make the lavender ice cubes more purple and the chamomile ice cubes more golden. One quick note here, make sure that the chamomile and lavender buds that you're using are good quality and safe to eat. Lavender and chamomile are safe to eat, but what I mean is just make sure you're not getting like a package of cheap lavender buds that came in like a soap making kit. Just make sure that they are clean and good quality, because they will be going in people's drinks. I went to my local co-op where they have bulk teas and just filled a little bag of lavender tea and chamomile tea. I had so much fun making these ice cubes that I decided to pull out some of my other molds and make more ice cubes. I had an abundance of fresh blueberries, so I thought it might be fun to plop a few of those in some of the ice cubes. Then I thought I would try the beet powder again and make some of them red, pink colored. I was a little unsure how this one was going to turn out, but later when I tried one, I was pleasantly surprised that once again the beet powder did not alter the flavor. Going back to my fridge to look for more fun things to put in ice cubes, I saw a big bouquet of fresh mint that I had on the top shelf and decided to make some mint ice cubes as well. I was supposed to have just made the chamomile lavender ice cubes and then move on to cake and cookies, because it's late and I need to sleep at some point. But no, the child in me was like, making ice cubes is fun, so I will sacrifice sleep to keep making dozens and dozens of ice cubes instead of making the cakes and cookies like I'm supposed to, so I can go to bed. I really did end up making a ton of ice cubes, way more than we needed. I even made a second batch of the heart lavender and chamomile ones, and still forgot to steep the tea, by the way, so forgot that twice. I filled an entire shelf in our freezer with containers of ice cubes, and we didn't even end up using them all for the tea party. I don't even think we used half. But do I regret this decision? Not in the slightest. So anyway, after hours of late night ice cube making, I finally moved on to the sugar cookies. You might notice they look a little different. I used a flax egg instead of a regular egg. You just add 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to a few tablespoons of water, let it sit in the fridge for a few minutes, and then it thickens up to the consistency of an egg. And this was sort of unintentional, but I realized that by adding the flaxseed that it kind of made the sugar cookies look more like seed cookies, which I felt really fit the garden, forest, outdoor tea party theme. Next, we're making homemade lemonade. I don't know about you, but when I think of summer, I picture a big pitcher of fresh homemade lemonade. I don't have measurements for this recipe. I just sort of eyeball it and then taste test and adjust things as needed. Super simple recipe though. We just have honey and lemons and water. I like to start by filling the pitcher with a bunch of ice. Then I juice a bunch of lemons and pour that juice into the pitcher. I juice maybe 2 to 3 lemons and then just add more as needed. Then I add 2 heaping spoonfuls of honey. And if your honey is solidified like mine and you're worried about it combining well with the lemonade, you can mix the honey with some warm water and then add it to the pitcher of lemonade. Then I slice up a lemon and add the slices. This adds more lemon flavor, of course, and looks pretty. Make sure that the lemon you're going to be using for the lemon slices is cleaned very well before you slice it up and put it in the lemonade. Most produce from the store is dirty and even covered in wax or whatever pesticides may have been used, so I like to give them a good wash before using the whole lemon. Then we just mix it all together. I like to use a wooden spoon to give it a good stir, and I even keep it in the pitcher, and that way people can stir it up before pouring their drink. I made some homemade vanilla frosting to go on our cake. Super simple recipe: confectionery sugar, butter, and vanilla paste. And then you just whip it together. And now that we have our frosting, we can decorate our cakes. I'll have the recipe for these homemade vanilla cakes linked in the description box below. Originally, I planned on making one large rectangle cake and then cutting them into little squares. But then I decided to use this little cake bun pan that I had, and I really like how they came out. I thought I would have to shave off the top and then turn them over so they were flat, but I actually really like how they look. They look like little baby loaves of bread, and so I was like, we're definitely keeping this, and we're just gonna decorate them as they are. I gathered lots of little things to decorate these cakes with, including the chamomile and lavender, beet and matcha powder, fresh berries, fresh mint, lemon zest, and I had some fresh thyme and rosemary too. By the end of decorating these, I wished I had made more cakes so I could decorate more. And I was tempted to whip up another batch of these cakes, but looking at the clock and seeing how late it was, I decided to be good and not get rabbit trailed like I did making those gazillion different ice cubes. Later on, you'll see that these cakes fit perfectly onto my cake tray, so it was a good thing that I didn't make more and I just stuck to the 8 little cakes. It was just the right amount. Oh, and little trick for frosting cakes easier. You probably already know this, but place your butter knife or your frosting utensil into a glass of warm water. This helps warm the frosting as you're putting it on the cake and makes for a smoother application. You also want to make sure that your cakes are completely cooled before decorating them to avoid them crumbling and falling apart as you're trying to frost them. This whole tea party was extremely last minute. I've been planning this video for years, and I was worried that this would be another summer that I just wasn't able to get it in. But then I saw that we had a 4-day stretch of gorgeous weather for this one long weekend, and I happened to have a friend visiting that same exact weekend anyway. So I thought, what the heck, let's have a tea party. Mind you, this was a Thursday night, and I was planning the tea party for Saturday, so this left me very little time to prepare, but we made it happen, and I think for such a last minute affair, everything turned out pretty amazing. I'm so excited to show you this tea, although a little sad too, because my tea of choice for this tea party was butterfly pea flower tea. This tea is a beautiful bluish purple color, but when you add citrus, it magically transforms to a pink color. I thought this would be the perfect whimsical tea to serve at our party. But sadly, the tea I ordered did not arrive on time. It was supposed to, but then it was delayed and it arrived the day after the tea party. This made me very sad, but I decided to film some of it just to show you how fun it is. As you can see, the tea at first is a blue color, and then the longer it steeps, it turns a deep purple, and then when added to citrus, it turns a bright pink. My original idea was to squeeze a little bit of lemon juice into all the teacups, and that way when someone poured their tea, they would have the surprise of watching it change colors. I thought this was such a fun tea and fit our whimsical summer tea party perfectly, or at least it would have. A few other items I originally thought to include in this tea party was either whipped honey or a piece of honeycomb on the table for people to eat or put on a scone or put in their tea. I also planned on scones and jam, as well as edible flowers. I wanted to make candied violets and have little bowls on the table filled with these edible flower candy. But unfortunately, I was unable to find edible flowers. My local co-op has sold out, and everywhere else I looked, I didn't have much luck. But that's okay, because I definitely plan on doing more summer tea parties or just themed parties in general, so I'll just tuck these ideas away for future. As you can see, I made a bit of a mess with the punch bowl. Turns out when you pour liquid directly into a ladle, it creates a fountain. My friend was extremely gracious to quickly clean it up for me. And amazingly, none of it splashed on my dress, so that was nice. I was so happy when I came up with the idea to put a wreath around the punch bowl. I was trying to decide how to decorate it when I had the idea to use a small wreath, put that on the platter, and then put the bowl in the middle. I added a couple of our butterflies and then later decided to add some flowers as well. I was a little worried I wouldn't be able to fit the cups on the platter once I put the wreath on, but luckily I was able to tuck them in between the greenery. Unfortunately, however, I forgot my decorations for the punch itself. I was originally going to add slices of floating grapefruit along with some edible flowers and mint leaves that would float on top. I bought all the ingredients, I just forgot to use them. The way the sun was trickling through the trees and creating a dancing kaleidoscope made me simply giddy. I was so happy with the magical little touches that nature was adding to my tablescape. I thought about having separate bowls for the different ice cubes, but in the end decided to keep the chamomile and lavender ones in one bowl and then mix the others. This was not planned at all, but mixing them all in a big bowl like this created such a fun array of colors and was very pretty. So I was quite pleased with myself and decided that the sleep I had sacrificed for those extra ice cubes was most definitely worth it. The tea ice cubes turned out lovely as well, so dainty, and the dried flower buds on top matched the tablescape perfectly. I was going to wait until nightfall to light the candles, but I'm glad I didn't. I love how they look. I wish I'd remembered my fairy lights. I think those would have looked really nice along the clothesline with the blanket. I also wish I had pulled out the lights I used in my firefly jar video. There are these lights you stick in the ground and they have these little round lights on the end of these sort of bouncy bendy rod. I don't really know how to describe it. But anyway, once it's dark, all you see are the bouncing lights and it reminds me of fireflies fluttering about. Those adorable shortbread cookies you saw were made by my friend, and she even had these cute flower butterfly molds that she used, which were absolutely perfect for our tea party. Our first guest turned out to be the amiable Mr. B, and he was quite impressed with the spread I had put together. He especially loved the flowers and the honey, and we had a hard time keeping him away from the lemonade and shortbread as well. Oh, and the berries, and the frosting on the cake, and the punch. Much to our dismay, we discovered Mr. B did not have a ton of self-control and turned out to be a little on the wild side. We found him fallen into the punch bowl. Luckily, we got to him in time, and once he dried off, he was okay. We told him he had probably had enough for one night and should take it easy. Everything you see on the table is a mixture of items from family, consignment shops, and things I found online. I'll have links in the description box below, as well as a link to my new Linktree shop, where you can find all the items I've ever used in my videos all in one place. Alright, I think our tablescape is complete. We're all done decorating and setting up, and now it's time for the party to begin. As we were all mingling and hanging out, I was still recording some video shots and still trying to keep everyone out of the camera and respect their privacy, so excuse some of the very obvious video cuts. Overall though, everyone was very nice and humored my YouTube video filming and just made everything so fun. I felt a little silly, but it was fun. It really was. And we were trying to come up with some fun shots with twirling or bubbles, and yeah, we got a little silly. At this point, we were playing music and just hanging out and having a lot of fun. And everyone was very, very patient with me, waiting to make sure I got all my video shots of the Tablescape before diving in and eating all the food. Originally, I was really worried about it getting late by the time we started the party, but actually it was so lovely. And I want to share with you now a little journal entry I wrote that evening before bed. It was the perfect summer evening and everything felt so calm and peaceful. As the sun slowly set, the glow from the candles grew stronger and made the air more cozy. It was so fun to be in our little blanket fort hideaway in the forest. Looking up, you could see the gentle breeze fluttering the leaves, and if your gaze continued up, way up, up, up toward the very tops of the trees, you could see the sky and the first evening stars beginning to shine. Crickets would soon begin their singing, and fireflies their dancing, and everything just felt right in the world. After a very busy day, I could sit and, following a deep breath, let out a sigh of satisfaction. Relaxing music was played, good company and food enjoyed, as that pure evening air softly enveloped us. That beautiful evening air that could not be mistaken for any other season, but was so deliciously unique as to only ever be recognized as the unmistakable air of a perfect summer evening. Friends, I hope you've enjoyed your day with me, making food, building blanket forts, playing with bubbles and dancing, and finally slowing down to soak it all in. I hope you remember to let your inner child out to play once in a while, and bring along that imagination too. Create memories and give your friends a reason to smile and laugh, even if it's at you sometimes. Remember that the days go by so quickly and the seasons, they slip away before we even know it. So take the time to make some magic and be playful. Find reasons to love every season, because there are so many reasons to love the seasons, the years, the days, and this life we've been blessed with. So this is my reminder to you, friend, that you are never too old and it's never too late to dust off that imagination and create a little magic. Friends, I really hope you've had a wonderful time with me today. I had so much fun putting this video together, and I'm really glad that I just I'm really glad that I just dove in and did it, you know, because I've been wanting to do this video for years, and every year it was like, oh, I'm too busy, or like kind of perfectionism was holding me back. Like, oh, maybe I could make it better if I wait, or if I put some more thought into it, or if I go and buy more things. But yeah, I'm just really glad that I just jumped in and was like, you know what, we're gonna have a tea party, and it's gonna be right now, tomorrow. No warning, everybody, no planning allowed. We are just, it's happening right now, basically what happened. But no, anyway, again, really grateful for friends that completely humor me go along with all my crazy ideas. I have a lot more themed things in the works, so this series is definitely going to continue. So if you liked it, please give the video a like, comment below what was your favorite part, what did you like the most, just any ideas you had. I hope this video has inspired you and put a smile on your face, maybe made you laugh once or twice, just reminded you to have fun in life. You know, we're all so busy, so crazy busy and stressed and just so much going on, but I really think it's important to make the time to have fun and to be silly and to laugh and make our friends smile and brighten someone's day, even if it's your own day. Brighten your own day, brighten somebody's day. Yeah, I hope this video has kind of inspired you to do that in some way. I hope you'll come back and hang out with me again. If you want to do that, please subscribe. And come hang out with me again, because I got a lot more fun ideas in the works. Like, I've got a list probably 75 pages long, so we will never run out of ideas around here. Come back again, I'll be here. That being said, my name is Bethany, and this is Joyful Habits, where we daydream and add a touch of whimsy to the ordinary. I hope I'll see you all very soon, and until then, keep smiling. Bye, friends.
Hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to work we go. Hi-ho, it's off to work we go.